Raider Nation, what is going on? It is the Raider D podcast back at you with another live stream. We're going to be getting into this article here that I want to show you guys. This is pretty interesting. It's basically showing how Mark Davis is definitely not okay with what is going on. And this could be a sign that Antonio Pierce will not be here next year because certainly there's going to be some head coaching positions that are going to open up next year. So let's jump into this here. Antonio Pierce on future as head coach with the Raiders amid 2-win season says, I'm under contract. Now, he said this the other day during his coach's presser. I believe that was on Monday. After 10 straight losses for Las Vegas has its head coach fielding uncomfortable questions. The day following Monday night's 15-9 home loss to Atlanta, Antonio Pierce was asked if he thinks he'll be returning to the Raiders next season. He says, I'm under contract. So I think that to me, that kind of rubs it the wrong way. I think that he needs to be a little bit more humility with this, because I think he maybe he feels that his tenure with the Raiders is secure due to the fact that Mark Davis is currently paying two other head coaches not to coach for the Las Vegas Raiders, i.e. John Gruden and Josh McDaniels. So maybe he feels like he's got Mark Davis between a rock and a hard place. He can't fire him because he's under contract. So now he'll literally be paying three head coaches not to coach for him and then have to go out and hire another guy, which is going to cost some money. Now, would this actually stop Mark Davis from firing him? No. Mark Davis is a multi-billionaire. The few million a year that he's paying, it's nothing to Mark Davis. I mean, that's a weekend trip to Cabo for Mark Davis. So I don't think that he should feel so cocky as to being under contract that that's going to save him. The article goes on to say Pierce's first full season in Las Vegas hasn't been ideal, and Monday night's loss exemplified what has been a season-long struggle. With recent quotes from Raiders owner Mark Davis not exactly breathing confidence into Pierce's tenure, Pierce was faced with tough questions from the media. So this quote here is from Mark Davis. It says, I'm very disappointed, obviously, Davis said last week to The Athletic. I want to see progress. There's no excuses. We have injuries and all of those things, but your team has to figure out how to get around those issues. If there's going to be a finger pointed, it should be at me because, again, I'm the one who's hiring the people to make the decisions on the field. At this point, obviously, we're not happy, but you have to go through the season and then we'll reevaluate. So there you have it, Raider Nation. It's pretty cut and dry that, Mark Davis not happy. And obviously he shouldn't be happy with the product that we have put out on the field so far. So get your comments in so far. Let me know. I want to know. Let's do a little vote here on the live stream in the comment section. Do you believe that Antonio Pierce will be head coach next year? If you do, type AP down in the comments. If you think he's gone, then type gone down in the comments and let me know how you guys feel about Antonio Pierce. Do you think he'll be here or not? Got a few of the guys showing up. Billy and Bass, what is going on? Tyler in the house, how you doing? Spooky, what's going on? Tyler says Mike Vrable season, baby. Well, I know Mike Vrabel's name has been thrown around a lot, right? He was able to take the Tennessee Titans to the conference championship 2 years in a row, or at least a couple of times. But man, I don't know that Mike Vrabel is that much of an upgrade over Antonio Pierce, because Mike Vrabel he's not a play caller. He was a linebacker, just like Antonio Pierce. He's a motivator. He's a team guy. And there's no question of motivation from this team. Those guys are going out there. You don't see a whole lot of quit in this team. Now, I know there's some argument that some players are kind of feeling like maybe they're not playing their hardest right now. Max Crosby going on IR to get his ankle taken care of. He's been playing with a high ankle sprain since week 2. That's not quitting him. That's just like he's finally just got to deal with that, or it could end his career. Right? He could just make it worse and worse. So I don't know that Mike Vrable solves the problem, because the problem then becomes you still need an offensive coordinator. And listen, guys, you're going to need a defensive coordinator, because Patrick Graham, he's gone after this year. With the absolute disaster that this team has been this year, the defense has still played fairly good with all the crazy injuries. Not having Max Crosby out there this last week, not having Christian Wilkins that you paid $100+ million to. So Patrick Graham, he's going to take off. He's going to get a head coaching job, most likely somewhere else. Now, the Raiders could hire Patrick Graham, which now you have a play calling, defensive minded head coach who actually calls the plays, but has a lot more experience at the NFL level of doing that than Antonio Pierce does. And so there's that option. And then obviously there's the option of the Ben Johnson, who's, he's the superstar offensive coordinator right now. And every team, there's about 8 teams who are going to be, calling his agent, requesting an interview. He's the hot item. Can the Raiders go out and actually get him? That's a big question. There's the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head, but he's going to be a hot item. Not nearly as hot as obviously Ben Johnson, but he's going to be a hot item as well. There's the Kubiak. Coach Kubiak could be a guy that you go after. Again, another young, innovative style head coach that you would want. Also calling plays. Shirley says, get Vrable is good for the Raiders. The Raiders need someone to ride their ass to win. Okay. Like I said, but again, if you go with Mike Vrable, who I think he's had success, there's a couple of knocks on him. One, he's not, even though he's a defensive guy, he's not a play caller. So you need to make sure that you have a really good defensive coordinator. You need to make sure that you have a really good offensive coordinator. Because listen, Bill Belichick was a defensive guy. He called the defense for the Patriots, though. And so defensive head coaches can absolutely win Super Bowls. Bill Belichick's living proof of that. You don't have to be an offensive guru to do it. He just always had good offensive coordinators to run the offense and the quarterbacks. But he also had Tom Brady. So there's that. So I don't know. I don't know, man. To me, it's interesting. Mike Vrabel is interesting. I'm not going to count him out. I think he's obviously got an edge, being that Tom Brady is now a minority owner of the Raiders, and they were former teammates and they're friends. But I think that if you're going to have the number 1 or number 2 overall draft pick, which we most likely will, unless we mess around and win a game or two, you're going to end up with Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. And you need to make sure that you have a legitimate head coach that is going to run the operation and make sure that your new franchise quarterback has somebody coaching him up all the way. Cuban Raider, what is going on? Good evening, sir. David King Raider in the house. What's going on? It is so much fun being a Raiders fan and looking forward to the draft every year instead of the playoffs. I feel you, brother. I feel you. Cuban Raider says, I'd rather take AP over Mike. Okay.